sexy on Secular Sexuality.
Hello and welcome to Secular Sexuality, the ACA show that has a hard-on for numbers. I'm Christy Powell. Vi is out this week, so my co-host tonight is our own amateur sex worker, Rudy B.
Hi.
And joining us tonight for the first time is best-selling author, business and marketing consultant, and top-performing sex phone operator, Amberly Rothfield.
Hey guys, and thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm so glad to have you here. Tonight, we're going to be discussing the business of sex and how Amberly found their niche as a consultant for phone sex operators, cammers, clippers, and models. We'll also have some practical advice for anyone building their own sexy business online. So hit us up. We're at 512-991-9242 or call the show at tiny.cc/callsex because the show is starting right now. All right, Amberly, tell us a little bit about yourself. How'd you get started as a phone sex operator?
I was homeless. But no, I really was. I was 18 years old. I was still in high school and had a terrible home life with my mom. So I was like couch surfing with my friends, didn't have a car. Lord, this sounds more and more cliche as I go along.
Yeah, I was going to say not to totally...
What's that?
Sorry, I was going to say not to totally validate the stereotype about sex workers all just kind of being in it because they can't do anything else. But
yeah, I just am that story. But yeah. So I saw like at the back of this, like this, I'm about to date myself, but it was the Thrifty Nickel, which is just like a local classified ad asking for voice actors. It said erotic voice actors. And I was like, I've been through that. That's not a problem. I've been talking about this all day. So I can actually easily mimic anything I hear for about 30 seconds. So I was like, perfect. That's not what it was. But it paid me $15 an hour, roughly. Sorry, $25 an hour. It's like 25 cents. I know it was 25 cents a minute, whatever that works out to be, which was well above minimum wage in 2005, which is when I started. And I figured I would do it for a little while after I figured out what it actually was. And I actually ended up growing to love it over time. I did not like it at first, not gonna lie. But I actually grew to love it within the first like 6 months, and I was making great money. And I just thought I would use it in order to get an apartment, which I did. I grew to love my customers and everything. And I left that company after about a year, and I started on a site called Night Flirt, which is still around. I highly suggest it for anybody who does webcam, phone sex, sells clips, or MP3s. I love that site. And I became, this sounds so narcissistic. I became the top model for a good 5 years. I really didn't stop being the top model until I started having babies. And I took a lot of time off in order to not completely time off. I made MP3s, but I was not working nearly like I was. And then when I kind of came roaring back again, I was number one in the site very quickly. And that's when like models started going, hey, you know what happened? I was like, I took some time off for family. And they're like, yeah, but you're also still making, like, you're at number one again. How did you get there? And I kept getting the same questions over and over again. So I compiled it. I saved. I try to be very efficient because I'm also lazy. And I'd get the same questions over and over again. So I actually made what's it called? I made it in Evernote, but now it's on Google Doc. And I just took their answers and I would just copy and paste. And one day I realized I had 250 pages. That's a lot.
Yeah, so that sounds a little bit like a book, which I gather is where this is leading.
That's where it's leading. And I put the book out for free on, there's forums, Stripper Web and Amber Cutie. And it got more than 10,000 downloads in the first few days. And people on the threads, I'm not making this up. You can literally go see the threads now. They're like, put this on Amazon. And I'm like, you all have it for free. Why do you want it on Amazon? They're like, put it on Amazon. So I put it on Amazon and I literally went to Fiverr and I just told someone make a cover and it's hideous. I didn't give a flip. I gave no fucks. And I hate the cover of that book. But no one's gonna buy it. I spent $5 on it. I don't care. And then like in the first month of it being on Amazon, it became the best-selling business book about sex work. And from there, I started actually getting even more people asking me more questions. So I tried to solve a problem and I created more for myself. Why does anybody listen to me? So I then started doing one-on-one consultations. Then again, I'm thinking I'll do this for a little bit, cool, and it's gonna die and go away, like everything else that I like in life. That sounds so nihilistic, but I'm like, this can't work out. And then fast forward 3 years, and now I almost primarily like work with models, helping them get on their feet, build audiences, and get out there, because most models are fabulous at performing. They're the best little entertainers you've ever seen in your life, but they put so much into that they don't know how to market themselves and get in front of people. Meanwhile, I'm the most mediocre performer you'll ever meet, but I'm really good at finding like audiences that are willing to tolerate me, which is honestly, that's the more magical thing. Wow, I just like completely debased myself. It's fine.
No, I mean, it sounds like you're finding an audience, or maybe an audience is finding you, whether you want them to or not.
Everything's
I'd
been
say
an
want
accident. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying, I would say I would hope you do want them to find you.
I mean, it pays the bills when they do. So
Yeah.
I try excessively hard. But yeah, I like to tell people, if someone that makes as mediocre content, I don't edit my stuff. There's literally a video where I'm sitting there talking to submissive male, making fun of him, verbal humiliation. It's a fetish. And I have a window right here, and my chicken, like my rooster, flew through it. And you just hear me screaming at him, and then like chasing the rooster around this room, which is why this room still actually looks terrible. And I put it out there. I didn't edit it. I was like, I'm too lazy for this shit. I know how to edit, funnily enough. I just won't. So that's the thing.
And you're still making money.
Yeah,
so.
whatever you're doing is working. You know, I am not specifically aware of the femdom humiliation rooster catastrophe genre or that community, but apparently they exist and they're buying your content, which is really exciting. How did it feel to? Well, I'm curious how it felt to make that transition to say, like, I am going to focus on the business part of business, and to not hang up your headset, because I know you still do a lot of the erotic content, but to, I don't know, really embrace this other part of yourself.
It's still weird. I still wake up wondering, like, I'm waiting for that shoe to drop. Like I see it in the sky and I'm staring at it. It was an accident. It really was an accident that I ended up in sex work. Well, I guess it was, because again, I thought I was gonna just be doing voices all day. So and then it was an accident that I started becoming a marketing consultant and business consultant. I told myself, when the first person asked me like to consult with them, I was like, all right, like everybody's got an hour out of their week that they can make time for someone. And then like a month or two later, she's like, oh my God, I'm making 10 grand, but I actually am. And I'm still making it. And I'm like, good for you. That's awesome. Because like, I'm desensitized by this at this point, which sounds really bad. I need my ego popped. I understand. So I'm just like, yay, that's great. Because to me, again, I've made it. So like when I see other people, I hate to say this, when I was just a creator, I was in my bubble. And I didn't realize how many people weren't making that kind of money. To me, I don't edit my stuff. Like literally, there's chickens. Like you can hear dogs barking. I don't edit crap. I have $150 mic. I still don't edit. Like I have so much editing software. I think I made the point on that. I put no effort into my crap. Half the time I won't even put on makeup. I have the same 6 pictures I use whenever I have to give them out to people for promotional stuff, because I am not putting on makeup anytime soon.
So the skills people are using to like to create this content are not the skills that are getting them paid.
Yeah, and they're amazing skills. I don't want to like devalue makeup artists. Like I've tried to learn makeup by osmosis, by just walking around Ulta. It doesn't work. It took me a long time to learn how to edit stuff, like video and audio, and yet I still don't use the skills because I'm just that lazy. So to me, seeing people that made stuff that was way better, I was like, oh, they have to be making more money. And I've learned now in consulting, this is not true. There's actually this really good book called 3 Months to Number One. The author is William Coombe, Coombe. Hideous cover. It's yellow. It will make you think that it's faded at the top. It'll make you think you already fucked up your book once you get it. It's just like that. And he talks about search engine optimization, and he actually highlighted it. I recently 2 years ago read it. I keep rereading it. He said that you could have, he's seen a lot of products that are fucking amazing, world changing, but no one will ever know about them because there's no good marketing plan. He goes, but a lot of my clients come to me and they actually have a crap product. It's actually subpar. It probably shouldn't be for public consumption, but they've marketed their butt off with it and they're doing really, really well with it. So that just made me, that was the moment when I read that it clicked, and I was like, this is what's needed in our industry. We have some incredible creators. Their stuff is so, like Lena Landry, she's a model, and she came up with this really artistic, I love this. I like this porn video, not just for sexiness, but just sheer artistry. It's her husband in a full hazmat suit with a dildo on a stick, and it's social distancing sex. So he's like 6 feet away from her using this stick and a dildo on her. And she's just like, I love social distancing. And like, they're just making, she's like,
having fun with it.
Yes, it is so funny. She was like, keep stabbing me with that sterile stick. And I was like, how is this not viral?
That's incredible.
Well, it just goes to show that in the world of porn, like anything can be content, anything can be somebody's yum, and it's about putting it in front of the right folks.
Exactly. But that video didn't get nearly as many views as I thought it would get because of the marketing plan behind it. It just goes to show you really great content can be just sitting back in the ether until there's a good plan behind it. So that's when like it clicked for me that this is something that was needed, because again, my type of content should not be what's at the top just because I have a great marketing plan. We need better creators to get up there so that they can also get a good piece of the pie, and also so we can just get better. That's how like industries get better, is because better stuff gets to the top. So anyways, that's my Cecilia's mission.
That's awesome.
I
will
appreciate
say
the honesty of it. Go for it, Rudy.
Yeah. I will say, as a small content creator, hearing that, I can think of 2 different ways that might be perceived. Like one being, it doesn't matter what I do, it doesn't matter how much work I put into the actual content, it all comes down to marketing. I don't know if I want to do this. I don't know if this is right for me because it's not the right way. No, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that's the only way to take it, because the other way that I'm hearing is like, oh, so I don't have to get better at the sex part of it. I just have to market myself better. That's what I'm hearing. I know that there might be some people who, yeah. I'm like, oh, so I don't have to like get sexier. I just have to get more business savvy.
Oh, trust me, I can't get sexier. This is it.
Well, why is it, do you think, that so few creators have found that kind of success or managed to have like a solid financial or marketing strategy?
Okay, so I'm a little bit of a unicorn. I have Asperger's, and I was Stockholm syndromed at a very young age into interacting. I like to tell people I'm just exceptionally programmed by force robot to understand humans. Because of that, I have a super analytical mind. Like, I love numbers. I'm obsessed. Like, me and my wife built a robot that skims all of the clip sites. So I know what's selling because we've got a hold of the API. And I also know how much people are uploading. So again, I'm lazy. So I go to areas where lots of sales, very few people uploading, because I'm not going to compete with you because I'm mediocre and you're most likely not. So, but that's where my mind goes. Whereas I think most people that are drawn to any entertainment industry actually have talent, unlike me. And they are very creative and they think of these really amazing ideas, like 20 on a scale of 1 to 2 ideas. And then they make it and they spend all their time taking what's in their brain and pulling it out and making this awesome piece of content for us. And there's this belief, I hate that. If you want to type something to me on the internet and know I'm screaming on the other side, say content is king. Because it is, in a way. You do want decent enough content. Everybody can't be lazy like me. It's only because of my analytical background, my wife who's in military intelligence and has an economics degree, that I'm able to actually pull off some of the stuff I do. But if you're not that like numbers driven, you do want decent enough content. But again, creators don't tend to go straight for that. Okay, let me go find where there's not that much competition, but there are high sales. They're more like, oh, I really, really like anal. Let me do this. Like one of my friends, she tattooed her vagina for a video because she knew that like, oh, there's not a lot of people doing like pain fetish or whatever. So she decided, and she has a ton of tattoos, and she was like, what can I tattoo on my body that would be painful and film it? I know. Yeah. And then she did this, like, honestly, like she did slow-mo of her tears coming down her face and stuff, like edited it together. It's not
high
my
production
thing.
Yeah. Damn.
Right. It went really high production and stuff. It was good. It was yeah. It's not my fetish, but even so, without it being like my thing, I watched the whole thing because it was that good, and it did go viral. But she also did do a little bit of analysis behind it. So, anywho, not a lot of people, but think quite like that. All that to say, not a lot of them. I think just we're not. I think it's a left brain, right brain thing. That's a thing, right? Like some people more analytical, some people more and creative.
Yeah, definitely to an extent. But I'm not surprised to hear that somebody who has found this success and who is like teaching others is somebody who wasn't necessarily drawn to it, but just sort of like found a niche.
Wait. I'm sorry. The first part again. Sorry.
Just you yourself. I mean, that you have found so much success in teaching others how to do this kind of work, that it wasn't necessarily the work that you were drawn to initially. And that you've had so much success as sort of that insider outsider.
Yeah. I think it's the reason why I had more success is so I discovered very early what I like to tell people, focus on not just what you like, but also know what you don't like. So I was baptized by fire by having to do working at a phone sex company.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to take every call that came through. If dude wanted me to dress in a dog suit and bark, like I had to sound like I was like, okay, like Mastiff Chihuahua. What do you want? Yeah. I did take whatever call.
Good question. I mean, clearly you're putting some work into all of this. Yeah.
That was back when I cared. But yeah, so I had to take whatever call came through. And again, homeless, like I rolled the dice on botulism quite a few times. So it's a very good motivator to ask these questions.
Sure.
But I learned very quickly what I don't like, and I learned what I really do like. And apparently I'm really good at being mean to people. And I think it's because you just got to get some of that aggression out sometime. So
15 years of practice doesn't hurt either, I'm sure.
Exactly. Having a consenting a willing victim was a fabulous thing. So I really liked my submissive phone calls, and this is the part where you get to judge me. I blame my mom, but I am excessively good with the blackmail fetish, fantasy. I'm never going like,
right, of course.
I don't look good.
We're talking about fantasies for consenting adults.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Like the fantasy will not leave the phone call. And I actually learned with blackmail not actually do blackmail, but to just tell crazy stories. So if you called me and you're like, oh my God, you do blackmail fetish. And I'm like, yes, I do. Before I get your details, I really like my guys to know exactly what they're going to get into. And so I just make up this horrific story. And so it's like Schadenfreude. They just get to watch it from the outside, and then it does it for them. And then they come back down to reality and they're like, wow, you're crazy. Yeah, I don't want that. So then I never have your information, therefore deniability, B, again, fantasy. So
No,
anyway.
I actually love that framing. I think that's, I mean, I'm sure you're full of those kinds of like tips and tricks. And I know Rudy is over here like listening to some of those numbers and calculating, perhaps a career change.
Are you? Do you want to do you want to be my blackmail apprentice, Rudy?
No, because I'm the submissive. I'm in this scenario. I'm not. I can't do that shit. I'm like totally on the other end of the sex worker spectrum. I feel like as far as the kind of stuff that we tend towards.
Honestly, it's pretty much one and the same. So it's funny that I'm about to get canceled on Twitter, but it's okay. Being a dom, I'm actually more in a submissive role because I'm having to craft the scene around my submissive. It's really about making them happy and keeping them like where in the subspace and without breaking the fantasy. Whereas as a sub, you're actually more kind of directing how things go because you decide if I'm going to be meaner or nicer. So yeah, it's one and the same. It's just you just have to switch it from
But, and I'm aware of that being like technically I'm actually more in control in that in that scene, but as far as like my just my ability to be mean, it isn't there. I was raised a Jehovah's Witness. What can I say? I've been trained to be nice. I can't like I don't even know how I would ever start doing like humiliation kinks, that kind of thing, because I just can't imagine myself being mean to someone.
Well, you can still do dominant. You can still do submission. Absolutely. And there's still a ton of money in that too. But crap, for what I was going to say, just flew right out of my head. But yeah, no, there's still a ton of money in that. And honestly, the people that are really good doms, I find to be really good subs. I actually have some submissive characters I play because funnily enough, you do get tired of yelling at guys all day. So sometimes I'll just switch on my other line and I'm like, yay. And I like to take my submission calls while I do my dishes. I just ruined broke a whole bunch of people's hearts. It's okay.
Yeah. Breaking the fantasy. Well, I see we've got a stack of calls coming in, so I'm actually going to let Rudy pick one for us here in just a moment. But Amberly, I'm hearing you talk about all these people who are reaching out to you for help, all these people who are saying, oh, this book is incredible, you need to sell it. I mean, everyone's sort of clamoring for a lot of the work that you're doing. So I'm really curious what some of your critics are saying, what maybe the other side of this, just being a sex worker and in the public eye in so many ways, what kind of maybe pushback you've experienced?
How dare you ask a question no one asks? I actually get a lot of criticism. I get people saying I'm taking advantage of sex workers, that, there's so much free information. I've actually been doxxed for that before. People have put my real information out because they think what I'm doing is so wrong. I got into a pretty heated Twitter. I mean, I was nice. A pretty heated Twitter back and forth when someone was like, oh, you do phone sex? You didn't use your own images? Like you were catfishing people. I've had in terms of teaching as well, I've had people tell me, oh, you're teaching because phone sex dead. And I'm like, but it's literally not. There's other like companies that are springing up that are making a ton of money, like Sex Panther, and they're doing exceptionally well. And so that's a lot of the criticism that I get. And that's part of the reason I keep my prices low. My first book will always be free on Gumroad. Anyone just has to ask, I'll give it to them. All my other books are pretty cheap as well. And even my consultative prices, like I also teach vanilla marketing as well. I work with YouTubers and Twitch streamers. I charge 10 times as much to my, actually no, 5 times as much to my Twitch streamers and my YouTubers as I do sex workers, because I know a lot of sex workers. Not okay, maybe not a lot, but there's quite a few sex workers that aren't, they, especially after COVID, they lost their vanilla jobs, so they kind of need this more. So yeah, I like to tell people, if you think I'm doing this for nefarious reasons, why do I have all this free stuff out there? So that's, I also realize you're gonna have naysayers no matter what you do. So
Oh, no question. And it's worth pointing out that the sex worker community really protects itself by joining together and by sharing these kinds of things. And I'm just listening to your story of sharing so much information with so many people. And, I didn't mean to misframe it, but really
it's okay.
almost sounds like you didn't want
it.
to be doing a lot of this or taking this on, or a little reluctant in getting into consultation. So I just find it fascinating the way people will look to tear you down no matter what.
Yeah, honestly. And honestly, anything involving sex work really just gets more controversial by default, I feel like.
Exactly. I'm actually of the mind we need more, like, I'm not gonna say I'm the first consultant to work with models that was also a model. I would say I'm probably the loudest, but I'm also the loudest in most anything that I do. So this is normal.
For sure.
But I'm seeing a lot more spring up now, because it used to be as soon as one popped up, everybody jumped on them and said, how dare you take advantage? And like they really, people quit because of it. But I'm seeing more now. And I think that it actually helps legitimize our industry, that models need this, if that makes sense. You can't have an industry where there's no, you can't have an industry where there's no teachers or anything in order, if you want them to get better. So as more and more people flood into it, I actually think there needs to be more. Like, I actually want more competition. I actually don't view them as competition, but other people would. So I would say, yeah, we need more.
Yeah. Well, I definitely want to jump on the phones, but I think it's just important to point out that this is a real industry and that sex workers are heavily, heavily isolated. They often don't have really control over the means of production, in the sense of working with these organizations like Patreon or OnlyFans or these other things. Doesn't need to be that way. But it very often is, and you don't necessarily have a boss or an HR department or a coworker to lean on. So I just appreciate you being able and willing to talk to so many folks.
I love it. Now that I've been doing it for 3 years, I'm not gonna cry. I'm good. Like this past AVN, it was actually hard going from my two different AVN, for those who don't know, is Adult Video Network. And every year we have this big convention in Vegas. And I was at 2 different booths that I was supposed to be signing at. It was hard for me to make my times on time because models kept coming up. One of my friends had to physically take me to go get food. And we have model lounges in the back where like talent can go eat and not be accosted. But my problem is my fans are now
Your
models.
accosters are models, yeah.
Yeah. Which, if you're a model, it doesn't bother me. But if I am eating a cookie, just like understand, like, I love you. I do need to eat. But like, it was hard even getting to the lounges. It was hard going in between because, like, I remember at this one point, I was so tired. I was just going back to my hotel. I'd been on my feet for 10 hours. I forgot to eat. I missed lunch. I'm dead. I'm dead at this point. And I have to save myself because I presented on stage, which I was the first Black BBW on stage at AVN to present, which was really cool. So I have to save my voice and be protective. And this model came running up to me in tears and told me that she bought a house because of me. God damn it. No, I'm tough. I'm tough. I'm tough. And that was one of the moments where I was like, I really don't care if I ever make a dime, because I really don't make that much money teaching. I still make way more performing. But if I take that hit in not putting that time into my performing, it's more than worth it to have stories like that.
Absolutely.
So yeah. Anyways, I'm sorry. I'll shut up.
Well, we'll jump onto the calls and give you just a moment to catch your breath. Rudy, who do you have for me?
I think we should start with Sean in Oklahoma. And he wants to know, he wants to discuss shame in sex work.
Awesome. What can we do for you, Sean?
How's it going, y'all?
Fabulous.
Hello.
Hey, so Christy, I appreciate y'all doing the what's HST episode. It was great. So I just had to say that. If you
the HSP episode we did a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was great.
I appreciate that.
This kind of ties back to that. And when I was younger, I just found out I'm autistic, right? So when I was younger, I was working normal jobs. I could barely do it. And then I started to get on Craigslist. I think at this time I know now that it was dangerous. But instead of doing a regular job, I decided to get into I think it's kind of like escorting. I had limits, no sex. I didn't do too much sexual things, but basically I get naked with older men, and I guess just to make money on the side so I could work less of a normal job.
Sure. Did you have a question for Amberly about some of those experiences?
Well, any of y'all, if y'all could answer, I guess. What is my so basically, like, I guess it's kind of like a shame deal. Even now, not only if I go into a relationship, I feel like I have to tell someone, and I feel like there's a shame, kind of like a shame idea there, especially when you're doing it on Craigslist. It was considered pretty trashy.
Yeah, so I'm sorry. What you're saying is that having had these experiences in the past, whenever you meet a new partner, or even sometimes perhaps when you're with yourself, that you're still kind of struggling with some of the guilt and the shame from those experiences. Is that how you're feeling right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Sure. Well, I'm going to actually open it up to both of y'all, since you have had a little bit more experience with these kinds of moments and this sort of social pressure.
I've only been doing this for a month, and I haven't done any in-person sex work, and I've still faced this to some degree. I mean, not as much coming from myself, because I wouldn't have gotten into this profession if I wasn't sex positive to begin with, sex worker positive as well. But I remember I saw like a meme on a Star Wars shitposting Facebook group that was like, it was like the first panel was like my girl masturbating for her OnlyFans, and the second panel was like me filming her because she promised to buy me a new Star Wars Lego set. And I thought it was hilarious, and I commented like, "Ha, that's me and my fiance right there. That's hilarious." But nobody else thought that was funny. That was a real thing. Like, everybody else was like, "Oh, that's terrible. I'm so sorry for you. Why would you do that?" And it's like I hadn't felt ashamed of it until people started shaming me for it. And it very much just goes to show that it's kind of a societally imposed thing, not anything inherently bad about it. And if I'm being completely honest, I don't see those societal sort of pressures changing that dramatically anytime soon. I guess what I'm saying is that if you want to get rid of that guilt, you can't get that validation from anybody but yourself, pretty much. Like, you're the only person that can say, I did what I did, I'm alive, I'm fine, I don't regret it, it got me through what I needed. It's work, work is work.
Yeah,
I would say I've never had much family, because just like we've been fractured since I was 9. And I'm 33 now. And it's funny, my sister didn't judge me until after I paid close to 40 grand in fixing her life. Like, she made some life decisions that she needed a lot of help getting out of. And I helped her take her nursing experience and get a hospital to hire her. Well, it wasn't nursing. It was like CNA, not like saying that's bad, but she didn't have her nursing degree. But I basically showed her how to get a hospital to pay for her nursing degree, all while she's living with me with her kids and everything. And I got her completely out of debt. It wasn't till she moved out that she was just like, I love you, but I can't stand what you do for a living. And that's when it kind of clicked to me. Because till then, I mean, I had like neighbors, because I was doxxed while I lived on a military base, and like everyone found out what I did, but I didn't really know them, so I didn't care. I had the occasional neighbor say something shitty, but I was just like, hey, you don't even have a job. So there's like there's something that goes back to no one, like I've always been able to be independent and take care of myself. There was like some sort of like shield that comes from that when you're able to say I'm able to support myself and my family with my income. It wasn't until my sister did that I was like, wow, that's kind of shitty. But at the same time, like, and I felt shame for a minute, but then it took a good year to get over it. But really what got me through it was, again, exactly what Rudy said. It doesn't, like, I can't feel shame for having put food on my table. And again, like, would have been better that when I was 18, I didn't take the job, that I remained homeless, and God knows what happened to me. Is that somehow more admirable than like finding my own way? I don't think so. I will say stigma in the years I've been in has changed significantly. I think it also could be where you live. It is getting better. And I do think with OnlyFans becoming so ubiquitous, like one of my best friends from like the Bible Belt days, someone I never thought would do OnlyFans, I just introduced her on Twitter saying, everybody, this is my childhood friend from like when I was in middle school, and she actually saved my legit life. Please go follow her. And the reason why I did that is because she recently came out to me. She's like, I'm on OnlyFans, I'm not making money and I don't understand. And I'm like, I got you, girl. Hold up. Like, so for someone that was like that, someone that like came from Dallas, Texas, for her to like start doing OnlyFans, I was like, the world is changing, because this is not how my life was supposed to go. So I do think it's going to continue to get better as more and more people have less shame doing things like OnlyFans. But you're forever going to find those pockets of people that don't like you, and you can't you can't let their judgment. What is it? There's a saying where if someone judges you, it's not a reflection of you, it's actually a reflection of them. So I'll stop being long-winded now.
No, please don't. Sean, I guess I'll just add to that your past sexual experiences don't change who you are fundamentally. I mean, there is no mark on you. There's no change to your DNA. You're not a fundamentally different person because of those experiences. And I also want to make sure you know that you can choose to share your past, choose to share these pieces of yourself with a current or a new partner, but you're not obligated to. I mean, these parts of your past are yours, and you're allowed to keep them secret to whatever extent you want to. So that's a lot of moving pieces. I hope some of that resonates.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. If you don't mind, one more question.
Yeah, what's that?
With y'all are on platforms like the two co-hosts, right? Platforms with content online, so you're doing it live and stuff. Is there a level of body shaming that y'all have noticed?
I will say, at least for OnlyFans, I mean, you have to pay to subscribe. So if you paid to look at me naked and then made fun of the way that I look, that's kind of on you for having paid for it. In the first place, it's like, okay, I still have your money.
So you win.
I don't really.
Okay.
That's 100.
Right.
I legitimately, like, okay, I'm fat. Yeah, like it's not even a bad thing. Like, that's just a descriptor. I get comments all the time. I have jacked teeth. Ironically, I even get like models that are like, why would I consult with you when you can't even fix your teeth? Cool, like that's fine with you, that's fine with me. I've literally had paid because I have a subscription base for putting out information. It's $2 a month. I've had people subscribe just to say shitty things like that to me, because on Twitter I can't see your comment if you're not following me. I love Twitter. That's the best feature on Twitter. You have to follow me, you have to help my metrics for me to see your insult, which is also funny to me. So it just becomes a little bit of a thick skin. And also, again, like I believe, what is it? Charlemagne the God. I have so many quotes, useless quotes in my head. I guess they're useful to me, but Charlemagne the God said, if you don't heal what hurt you, you'll bleed on those who didn't cut you. So if someone is bleeding on me and saying something mean, that means there's something wrong with them. There's literally nothing wrong with me. There's no reason someone should come call me a whale unless they're hurting on the inside. And I refuse to perpetuate more hurt. So I'm not going to say something mean back to you. I'm going to curse at you from behind my phone. Oh yeah, I am definitely looking at that phone. People on Twitter, they're like, you're so classy, so nice. I'm like, oh, if you saw what I typed and deleted, you would not say that. But I do believe in not perpetuating the hurt. I'm never going to say something mean back to you. And again, it's just a reflection of I see stuff that I find unsexy all the time. I don't have time to comment on it. So for this person to have time, they just want to hurt you. So yeah.
Or pay money for the privilege. I mean, I guess that hurts like all the way to the bank.
Right. Oh no, I had this one guy. He likes to call girls on Night Flirt. He gets off on you hanging up on him and blocking him. He'll just go make another account and call you again. I put him on mute so I can just go about my life, and I put him on speaker so I know when he hung up. And it is hysterical listening to him just scream obscenities at you. I'm washing. I was Swiffering my floor the other day. Now that the kids are home for Corona, I tend to like see, like, because you can see who's calling you on Night Flirt. I will run outside. Oh, I will run outside and I will go get in my car and I will just sit there and like do my taxes, or I'll just start writing a blog post while he's screaming, just losing his mind.
Hey,
But
if
he's paying for that
the
time.
privilege, yeah.
He's paying $3.99 a minute to yell at me. It's fine.
So,
That's
Shauna, I hope that
fantastic.
gives you somewhere to go. It definitely sounds like you're working through some pretty complicated feelings. And so, let me encourage you to get whatever type of support you need for that, whether it's reading a book or talking to a counselor or whatever else. I think that they have both given some great ways of framing these thoughts, but
Can I
just take
interject?
care of yourself. Yeah, please.
So if you are a sex worker and you're in need of like counseling, I highly suggest Pineapple Support. They will hook you up with a sliding scale free to very low payment counselor. Also, APAG Union, APAG Union has a ton of resources. We hook people up. I work with APAG a lot. Reach out to me. Like, I'm not going to charge you to get you resources for counseling.
I appreciate that. And we'll make sure to have all of these links and books in the show notes for the episode.
All right,
So, Shauna,
y'all.
yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for
nice.
giving us another call. You have a great night.
Have a great night, Sean.
Rudy, who else should we jump on?
Next up, we have Dani in I don't know abbreviations for state. Which one is NM?
I think we're looking at New Mexico.
New Mexico. We have Dani in New Mexico. And she wants to talk about how to approach the trans coming out conversation with her parents. So, Dani, can you hear us?
Hi, yeah, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'll just kind of get into it to give you a little bit more context.
Please.
I am out to both of my parents as trans, but they don't know that I've been taking hormones and altering my body and those sorts of things. It's been a thing that I've kind of been hiding from them. Like I don't go to like family vacations where we're going swimming or different things like that. I've never really been able to come out on my own volition, so I don't really have the practice of that. So that's kind of the position that I'm in.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a stressful situation. I'm sure that there is some reason, but can you walk us through just a little bit about why you haven't felt comfortable sharing these things till now? What's the fear maybe of what your parents would say or how they would feel?
I think it's more specifically the worry is with my father and like that side of the family.
Mm-hmm.
Like the response to me being trans tends to be more, well, you're still our child type of thing, and not quite like the full embrace of, oh, we have a daughter.
Yeah.
That's great. So I guess there's some discomfort and worries there. And I think a part of that is could just be in my mind, maybe.
I mean, perhaps, and it is worth examining some of those anxieties and asking, like, how grounded in reality are they? Are my parents really not that supportive? But the fact that you're asking the question just leads me to believe that even if they are accepting of you, that they haven't done a great job of showing it. And the doubt that you're feeling is, it might be partly on you, but it definitely sounds like a failing on their part to express love and acceptance that you so justly deserve. So I want to be very clear to highlight that this is not a you problem when you're talking about that acceptance and love from your parents. That being said, I am glad that you are feeling like it's time to share this side of yourself with them and that you want to have a relationship with them. You're certainly not obligated to. And I think that's worth highlighting as well, that if your parents don't accept you, if they don't accept you in a big, effervescent, like warm kind of way, then you don't owe it to them to be in their lives or to have a relationship. Still, if you are thinking that you want to, that you can, I'm glad that you're starting to ask these questions. Rudy, Amberly, do y'all have anything in particular that you might suggest for how to start this?
My wife is trans, and she came from a Mormon background. Her mom's crazy Mormon. There's no polite way to put it. And she was very unaccepting. Like, screamed on the phone to me that when I corrected her, and I wasn't even being mean. Like, I was just like, oh no, Dani's her name. And she was like, you'll never know what it's like. And I'm like, I don't know. I have 3 boys. I might find out. Who knows? Like, if any one of my kids came out to me, like, it wouldn't be a big deal. Wow, that sounded shitty. It would be a big deal, but like,
you would
not
be accepting, but it's an important piece of who they are. So yeah, I think that tracks.
Exactly. Like, I'd be the first person going, do we need new clothes? Like, what's we got to do to make you happy? Let's do that. So coming out to her was exceptionally difficult, but I would say it was a lot easier because she had an exceptionally supportive partner in me, and also our kids. Like, I don't want to say they didn't give a crap, but I thought it would take an adjustment period. Like, the next day they're like, hey mom. And like, if they ever said her name, it no longer was her dead name. It was her name. So I think having a support group that's outside of your parents is really going to help you be able to confront asking them, like, hey, are you super supportive of me transitioning? How do you feel about it? And then bringing up the fact that you're on hormones, if that makes sense. But you have to, it came to the point where I had to tell my wife, like, if you can't have the support you want out of your family, you have to build that support elsewhere.
Definitely. So Dani, your story actually really hits really close to home, because just today I had to, I didn't have to, but I did kind of come out directly to my family in a way that I hadn't before. I was actually going to wait to announce this, but I feel like this is very appropriate to this conversation. I went to the county courthouse today and picked up an application to get my name legally changed to Rudy. And I was super excited about it, but as we kind of drove up, I, turned to my partner. I was like, I should call my mom. Like, I don't want her to find out that I changed my name from a Facebook post. So after I picked up the application, I called her and I was just like, hey, I'm telling you right now, this is what I just did. I just picked up this application and I don't hate the name you gave me. It's not a bad name. I just don't identify with that anymore. That isn't. And she asked me, is it a gender thing? Because I don't know how much she actually looks at my social media because, we're kind of estranged a bit due to the whole Jehovah's Witness disfellowshipping thing. But apparently she looks at it enough or found out some other way. And I was like, yeah, to some degree. But even before I kind of came to terms with being gender fluid, there was part of me that thought of Rachel as a different person. Like Rachel was me when I was a Jehovah's Witness. And yeah, I just named myself, but it's not that triggering for me. So it's like I think of that. I don't even think of that as me. So it doesn't even feel like a dead name. Weirdly enough, like it just feels like somebody else. So I guess that I'm just relating my own sort of like, yeah, my parents already know, but I'm sort of coming out in a different way, in a more specific way type of story. And I have to say what Amberly said was totally true. Like, my mom said, yeah, I understand. You're a different person now. You're living a different life. But she said, you'll always be Rachel to me. And I was just like, honestly, I just accepted that. Like that, we're not close enough that I'm probably ever going to change your mind on that. And we're probably never going to be again. And if you do have that close relationship with your parents, then that's probably, like, if that is something that they don't accept right away, it's probably still going to take time at the very least. Or they may never accept it. But yeah, like Amberly said, if you don't think you're going to get that acceptance from your parents, get that validation from somewhere else. I'm sure you have trans affirming friends, or at least I would hope you do. And if you don't, you have some now, hit me up.
Yeah, well, congratulations, Rudy, and thank you so much for sharing that with us. Dani, I'm curious what kind of questions are bubbling up, or just how it feels to, hear these different ideas.
Yeah, no, that's definitely helpful. I think if I'm following, it's helpful to have someone that's a little bit more neutral to be there as an ally for these kinds of conversations.
I think surrounding yourself with emotional support for this type of high stress moment can be incredibly valuable, and making sure that you don't feel like you are going into this alone if that's the situation. Like if you're picturing yourself at your family home surrounded by people who may or may not be accepting of you, that's very, very daunting. And so I think kind of choosing how and when you want to come out, and having perhaps somebody with you that can help support you, and, even just sort of take care of you emotionally before and after, can be really valuable. Again, though, I just want to highlight that while there's value in having these hard conversations and in pushing through oftentimes, that you're not obligated to it. And if this is feeling like too much, then it might be worth listening to those feelings.
Yeah, I understand that. I think my issue is kind of, I would like to have a good relationship with my parents, and we don't have, like, in comparison to even like trans friends that I have, my experience with my family is better than what others have experienced. like, I feel that there's room to work there, and I don't want to cut my family out of my life at this point. It doesn't, like, that doesn't feel necessary, but it's still difficult to deal with some of those.
Yeah. Well, I recognize a little bit of the anxiety, and I just want to, I guess, support you and praise your bravery for being willing to go through that. I do think it's an incredibly valuable thing. I think that your birth family can be incredibly meaningful thing to hold on to. Not everybody has the opportunity, but it sounds like you may, and so I'm glad that you're taking that on. And I definitely want to let you know that, you know, there's lots of support for you in the chat of this episode. Like, people listening, our hearts, I know all three of us listening are totally in support of you. And so if you don't have a community around you that's helping take care of you, I hope that you'll, you know, jump into the secular sexuality fan group on Facebook, or join us in the ACA Discord, or take some other opportunities to have that kind of support around you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you so much for calling and sharing your story with us. You have a great night.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you, Dani.
Yep. Bye, Dani.
Well, Amberly, I want to make sure before you go that we have a couple of very practical tips and things that we can share with the audience. You know, you talked a lot about the experience of being doxxed, and it feels incredibly important after having read your blog and just knowing how destructive that can be. I'd love for you to kind of walk the audience through what that is, and maybe some ways to help protect yourself.
Sure. So doxing, in case you don't know, is when someone takes your personal information and they put it out online. And sex workers are really any kind of online entertainers. I see it happen in Twitch and YouTube a lot, which there are risks with that, but there are way more risks when it comes to being a sex worker, because most of us are not out of the closet. I have been ripped out of my closet on multiple occasions. Basically, everybody knows at this point, but that doesn't mean it's not still dangerous. So, like, tip number one to not getting doxxed is don't participate in internet drama. Most times models come to me after they've been doxxed is because they got in an argument on Twitter or Instagram or some other social media site. It's not worth it. It's not. I'm not saying don't have discourse, but once stuff starts getting nasty, if someone seems hostile towards you, back away. Like, it's, you never know when that person is going to take, or what they're going to take offense to. I have people that have told me, actually on Instagram, this one girl was like, "You were so nasty to me, blah, blah, on Twitter. That's why I blocked you. And I saved everything that you said." And looking back through the conversation, I only had a conversation with her publicly because I looked up her account, and privately, she had DM'd me saying like horrific things to me. So I was like, I'm not going to respond to this DM. And she kept goading me publicly. And publicly, I kept saying, and she kept saying, "Go to DMs. I want to take this DMs." I'm like, "I'm sorry, I don't feel comfortable having a private conversation. I would love to talk to you about this publicly." And that's what she got mad at. So that's a good example of how you can be being nice, but someone can get mad. So don't, if stuff starts going left in sex work, especially, don't participate. Second thing is check all of your data files. A lot of people upload video and pictures, or even audio, and like some of your information will be in there. It'll say like where that, like your
the metadata and the file name attached to it.
Yeah, exactly. It'll say your city, your state. Use VPNs. They help hide your IP address, as well as, you know, it encrypts all of your information, and they're so cheap that it honestly, I can't, given the data that you're giving away, it's so cheap a year. It's so worth it. If you buy a website, make sure you get Whois protection. It usually on Namecheap, it's free, but it hides your personal information after you purchased a website. And lastly is just be careful what you tell people. For example, if you ask me where I live, I will sometimes say New York City. I will straight lie to you about where I live. Like, if you're going to call me a liar and base it off of I lied to you about where I live or how many kids I have and stuff like that. Oh yeah, I lie about stuff like that all the time. So, yeah, like you can judge me for that. That's fine. But I'll tell you New York City. I will tell you Pittsburgh. I'll tell you Cleveland. I'm somewhere in that area right now.
Yeah, I give really vague answers.
Midwest
like
Triangle.
Yeah, I give people vague answers like, "Oh, I'm from the Midwest," and if they want to know specifically, I'm like, "The Northeast Midwest." Like that's. I don't like to get specific. Like I want to talk to people. I want to engage in conversation because for some people who are looking for a more like girlfriend experience type of thing, they want to have conversations. They want to know about you outside of a sexual context. But there's only so much of that you can do without doxing yourself.
Yeah, like a lot of times back before I like really became the iteration that I am now, back when I was Amberly, femdom extraordinaire, whatever. I was living in Georgia and I told people that I was in Dallas because I know Dallas very, very well. So like and also I can do a Dallas accent. So nobody was none the wiser. Pick a city that you know really, really well, or go learn a fuck ton about a city if you've never been there. That's completely far, far away from where you live. So
yeah. If people want specifics, I tell them about my hometown, which is over an hour from where I actually live now. But I know it well enough that they could be like, "Oh, have you ever been to that one restaurant? Do you live on the east side or the west side?" And I can bullshit my way through it.
Yeah, or Amazon. Also, I don't suggest Amazon unless you give me an Amazon gift card code and then I can add it to my account and buy stuff. Because now, like, if I buy a gift off your wish list, when they drop it off on your porch, they take a picture of it and it goes to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, watch that ish. Don't do
that.
that.
Okay, well, I'm definitely going to have to take some links off of my OnlyFans now.
Sorry.
Hey,
No,
I appreciate
I would so
you protecting the community, getting this information out there.
I would so much rather know that. I mean, nobody's bought anything off my Amazon wishlist anyway, so it doesn't make a difference.
I found it out the hard way. It was fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Told you, forcibly drugged out of my closet multiple occasions. I've doxed myself too. So
and that's the thing is again, with what you were saying earlier, I have such a hard time believing that you are doing this dishonestly because it's it seems obvious to me that you're pretty free about this information, and the only reason you charge anything for it at all is because you have to put so much time into it.
I would do free consultations if I did learn that when people pay for it, they take the information more seriously.
Sure.
Like there's hundreds of thousands of people who have my free book that have not moved on it. And like, I'm not hundreds of thousands. I just said 10,000. Sorry, thousands. My ego just got too big for me. But they haven't moved on it, which is the big thing versus like my third book that came out just now, 90.
Whoop. Well, we may have lost Amberly for a moment. I guess we'll work on getting them back. Do you have any calls you'd like to pull out, Rudy?
I do, and this one is one of the most interesting calls. Andrew from Canada says his girlfriend is too loud during sex. What can we do about that?
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna have to hear. Yeah, I'm gonna have to hear what too loud means.
Yeah, Andrew, tell us what too loud means.
Yes, and sorry about that. I almost feel bad about taking up your call after the previous call. I really wish Dani all the best. And thanks for what you guys are doing in terms of like demystifying and destigmatizing sex work. It's super awesome.
I appreciate that.
But when it comes, when it comes to the loudness, it's one of the things where, like, especially when she's about ready to kind of climax, it gets loud, but sort of loud to the point of like actual screaming. And I think we're pretty open about this. We just had a conversation about this a couple days ago. and because it's one of the things where I'm getting kind of self-conscious about it. She seems less so, but it is actually like screaming and yelling. And we've Googled it, and a lot of the time Google kind of just says, "Oh, just try having sex in the shower or try white noise."
Mm-hmm.
But like it sounds like someone getting murdered. And I'm like, it's the white noise isn't really going to help with that. So,
it just sounds like you're trying to cover it up,
right?
which
somehow
like
seems
right?
to make it worse in a way. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'm just wondering if you guys have any advice for that kind of stuff.
First, I want to ask, is it too loud for like you? Like, is it kind of like, this is screaming and it's kind of turning me off? Like, this is not what I'm into. Or is it like you're self-conscious about other people hearing you?
I think it's more about other people hearing me. It does hurt my ears. I honestly, it's kind of a nice feedback in some ways, because it's like, oh, okay, this is working for you, so that's cool. But like, especially like it is like actual yelling. And the thing is like, sometimes kids could be walking by the sidewalk and stuff like that. And, just people walking around, and I don't know, like if I were them, I would not want to hear this. So yeah, it's more about sort of other people and making sure they're, comfortable, because, again, we've had a couple of complaints already. So, yeah.
I mean, it's definitely a thing to be aware of, like, especially in this era where we've got everybody working from home. We've got, kids home from school and all of those kinds of things. But I would be just really curious sort of what her experience is, what it is that she is, not what it is she's reacting to, but what that reaction feels like, and sort of her mindset and her feelings. It sounds like it might be the type of thing, if she's looking to change it, that she would want to talk to a therapist about, because the associations we make with sex are malleable. And that doesn't mean that she needs to be quieter, that she needs to change how she feels or how she responds or reacts sexually. But if she is looking to, then it's probably worth examining that relationship a little bit. Why is it that being so loud feels so good or feels like a necessary component? Because that's what stands out to me. It's not that she's loud. It's that she might be loud when she doesn't want to be, or when it's like causing issues. So if that's truly how she feels, and I know that, you're the one here talking to us, but I would encourage her to just examine that relationship and maybe talk that over with a therapist. What other ideas come to mind for y'all?
Well, actually, there was one piece. Oh, sorry.
Gag is a solid answer.
That's the first thing I thought of. I had actually a bit of a problem with that, because my fiance and I moved from an apartment to the house that we now live in, and I was actually less self-conscious in the apartment because our neighbors were always loud. So it was like, fuck it. If they can hear us fucking, well, we can hear their TV and their music, and they're talking all the time at all hours. So who cares? But now I live in a neighborhood where my neighbors are like really friendly to me and very courteous, and they have kids. And I'm like, oh shit, I have to like actually care now. But I mean, I, for the most part, can control that. So I guess, yeah, I'm a little curious as to like what Christy was saying. Like, is that something that she is self-conscious about? Is that something that she wants to control, or does she feel like she isn't as, like, I guess at least for me, I know that like feeling free to be as loud as I feel compelled to be in that experience is very freeing. And I don't know, there's something kind of cathartic about screaming. I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's why I kind of focus on what her relationship with it is, because this doesn't feel like something that is out of her control in a certain way, but it may likely feel that way. And it may be, I would just be really curious, because I think that ultimately that's going to be what changes this, is her decision to, and her sort of examining why she's feeling this way.
I like what
Okay.
Tanyel Wright said in said in the YouTube chat, which is maybe there's some exhibitionism at play. I know for me, I sound like a psycho. Yeah, bless our neighbors. Uh, I feel really bad for our neighbors. It's terrible. And when I was younger, I was very self-conscious about that, and I would sit there and like do the bite a pillow thing, or I would like try to think about it, but then that took me out of the moment. Then it took longer to get to the if you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
I just say fuck it. Like my neighbors have heard fucking before. If they haven't, they've watched porn, and if they haven't, they're lying. That sounds terrible, but like I don't know, like again, there's something cathartic about screaming. So
Yeah, I think that may be the other piece of this is that she doesn't need to make that change. And it may be about, kind of embracing it to a certain extent.
Okay. Yeah, it's more. It's just I don't want to, I don't want to be a bother to the neighbors. Like, and again, it's less about the adults and more about like if there's kids walking by, like there's a sidewalk really near the room, so it's like I don't know if I want to subject people to that. But no, you're absolutely right. And again, she doesn't seem very fussed about it. They did have some suggestions. Like they did mention like something like a gag and stuff, which could be interesting. I just worry about, a choking hazard kind of thing.
Well, yeah, I think I would definitely clarify that we're not meaning, something from Spencer Gifts as like kind of a cheap novelty. If you are interested and if that is a direction y'all's sex life is wanting to go, I would definitely encourage you to check out a number of different gags that are available at, any kind of adult toy store. You do want to get something that is appropriately made for that. Rather than improvising carelessly, but you can absolutely find like safe and appropriate toys that may help out.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's some gags that I totally don't know from experience. Yeah, no, my screaming will still be audible. It doesn't actually help.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Yeah, depending on what you're getting, it may help. It may kind of change that relationship with noise a little bit, which again is only a problem if it's causing a problem. And if it is something that you want to change, then yeah, I think that those are a couple of ways to go about it.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate the advice, and I'll definitely I'll watch this clip again and definitely act on it. So yeah, thank you for your time.
Absolutely, we appreciate you giving us a call.
Yeah, have a good one.
Good evening.
Anybody else, Rudy, before we wrap up for the night?
We do have one more caller on the line.
One last. Okay, yeah.
We have Keith. He says he's a 33-year-old virgin because of former religious beliefs. How do I get started dating? Keith, can you hear us okay?
I can.
Awesome. How are you doing?
I'm doing well enough, I suppose. You guys?
Great.
I'm good.
Yeah, what's on your mind tonight?
Well, I mean, I grew up very religious. In high school, I dated a couple of girls, sort of, as in like we were high school relationships, like inside the high school, pretty much, and not much else. And I just assumed that they had all the same standards that I did, and it led to a lot of misunderstandings that I didn't realize at the time. And now I don't really have any understanding of like what are relationship boundaries? How do I go about meeting people without freaking them out? I mean, I just don't have any of the experience and knowledge that that most people got from the trial and error when they were younger.
Sure.
And yeah.
Well, I definitely hear where you're coming from, Keith. I was one of those folks who kissed dating goodbye in junior high and high school because of religious beliefs, and found myself trying to date for the first time, really, as a polyamorous queer guy at the age of like 26, and it was definitely a pretty scary, pretty daunting thing. Like, how do you online date? Like, how do you get into it? How do you express yourself? And I, perhaps speaking more for myself than anybody else, I think the way you do it is by doing it poorly and then doing it hopefully a little bit less poorly. First you suck big, then you suck little, and then you succeed little, and then you succeed big, which is not to make dating out to be some sort of competition, but it's okay to embarrass yourself. It's okay to be a little bit awkward or to kind of struggle sometimes with how to say the right thing. I don't know. Am I off base, or is this resonating for y'all?
No, that's 100%. I found the love of my life 9 years ago. And it was I have Asperger's. Like, there is no you get better at it for me. There's just levels of awkward. And I just saw this gorgeous creature appear before me. And I always feel like texting her to come up here to confirm this story. I annoyed her into dating me. She was ignoring me. She had a laptop and she kept picking up, and we're with friends, but like, we didn't know each other. We're with mutuals, and she's just in her laptop plinking away. And I kept going, hi. And then she'd lift her eyes up and then go back down. She's playing World of Warcraft. Rinse and repeat. I kept saying hi. And I was like, you're going to put that computer down and talk to me. I know you are. And finally she did it. It took like an hour and a half, but she finally did it. And it turns out the reason why, I don't necessarily suggest this for everybody. This is so freaking awful. But she was like, I was really into you, but I'm really shy. And it's because she grew up Mormon. And she was like, she didn't know how to date either. She didn't know how to approach anybody. And I don't know, I just got this vibe that like she dug me and she liked me. So I annoyed her until she did. I don't suggest that to literally anybody else. But it just goes to show you that like I wanted to shoot my shot. I wanted to try. So you kind of have to like, I don't know. I have this view on everything. It comes to business, it comes to life, it comes to everything. I expect the worst because I've had a terrible life. Like, if I were to write an autobiography, I would have to write it as fiction because I'm not even try and make people believe this shit happened, even with receipts for most of it. But I basically believe everything's going to go terrible. And so I'm always surprised. I'm never sad. I'm always surprised that something worked. So if you take that view on it, you're not going to be upset that like you embarrassed yourself. You're going to be like, that turned out how I thought it would be. And then finally, when you get your yes, when you get the person that wants to date you and they like you and they want to hang out with you for more than 5 minutes, which for me, rare. But when you find those people, you're gonna be like, yay, I found my people. Oh my God, this is fucking great. So yeah, just have no expectations on anything. That's terrible. Terrible advice. I should not be a counselor.
Oh gosh.
No, well, I think it's an important point, though, that you don't want to put too much pressure on a first date. I think so often people go into, whether it's a first date or a third or a fifth, with ideas of like the long term. And, if this doesn't work, then I'm unlovable. And if this relationship isn't going well, then no relationship will go well. And, I never want to encourage people to think of other human beings as disposable. But especially in an era of online dating, you have plenty of opportunities to meet new folks, to try again, to, put on a little bit of a different outfit, to use a slightly different joke. There are tons of people that would be interested in giving you a shot. And I hope that when you feel comfortable, when you have the energy for it, when you've got the spoons for it, that you're willing to be brave and to, give that a try.
I mean, there was somebody who was in a similar predicament as me that seemed interested at one point, probably still is, but I embarrassed myself so badly I can't even text her anymore. And it's just like, how do I get past failures like that to even move on and talk to anybody else?
Oh, I got this. Oh, I've got this. Throw me in, coach. Nah, dead serious. Text her right now, or them, or he. Text this person right now and just say, hi, I'm fucking awkward. And if things went bad before, just know I'm awkward. I almost introduced myself as awkward because of my Asperger's. And I can't tell you how many times that just makes people go, oh, okay, got you. You're weird. That's good to know. Like, once you get that out of the way, like once you stop trying to pretend, I think the problem with most people is they try to pretend to be normal. I just lead with the strangest things about me. And then that just makes people accept when I do weird stuff. So like sometimes I'll offend people because I won't think, because again, Asperger's, and once I tell people I have Asperger's, I'm awkward, they go, oh, hey, you might not want to say that to other people. I get you, because I think like you didn't mean that way. And then they see it wash over my face as I'm like, shit, well, yeah, that shouldn't have come out that way. So like it goes from, oh, she's an asshole to this person has no idea that they're offending the whole room. So yeah, no, just text them and say, I'm awkward. I promise you it fixes everything. Most things.
Well, and let me definitely point you towards the episode that we did with Grace Wood a couple of weeks ago on online dating during this wild time. I mean, the way folks meet, the way folks get to know each other right now is a little bit different. And so it might be worthwhile to kind of bone up on what some useful strategies and some ways to even just take care of yourself during this process might look like.
I didn't catch that episode. I'll definitely go back and check it out.
Yeah, well, I definitely hope that helps.
If I can throw in one piece of advice, and this is still like Amberly, please don't do what I did. You can't do worse than saying I love you on the first date. You can't do worse than that. And I'm engaged. So to that person. So really, what you perceive at the time as a fuck up might not even be as bad of a fuck up as you think. Like whatever it is that you think that you did that was so goddamn awkward that now you can't text this person might just be like a mildly funny story to them. But literally every single person on earth has things that they think about. They're like, oh my God, that was so awkward. And they think about it to this day, even though the other person has long since forgotten. Like, it may be way bigger in your head than it actually is to this other person. And that's like just remembering that other people are also awkward is always a great thing to keep in mind when you're trying to shoot your shot.
I love you, Rudy. Vern, by the way, if I look like I was laughing at inappropriate times, Vern is killing it on YouTube chat. And I'm like, oh, I can't laugh now. This is bad.
So, Keith, I hope that gives you something to work with. Just know that it's okay to be bad at this. And the most important thing is to try to put yourself out there and to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, that you push yourself just to the edge of your comfort zone, maybe just a smidge beyond it. But that if you're feeling stressed out and overwhelmed on every date or every night or every moment you spend on an app or whatever else, maybe it's time to put those things aside for at least a night, take an evening to not feel stressed by it.
Oh, yeah. I have been trying to push myself into into slightly more awkward situations, I made a FetLife account.
Hey, that'll do it. Yeah, congratulations.
That's fun.
Fuck yeah.
And let me encourage you not to neglect your dating coaches, your therapist, different support folks who might be able to come in from the outside and give you, more than just a shoulder to cry on, but some actually like very specific to you advice and a way of maybe understanding yourself.
I mean, what's a dating coach? Did I miss something?
Yeah, no, a dating coach. I mean, coaching is a entire field of helping professional. There are a number of great dating coaches out there. We've even had a couple of folks here on the show. I don't believe any of them are still working in that field, so I don't have like a great shout out or referral for you right at the moment. But search your area. If you're willing to work with somebody online, coaching generally has legislation and things around it that allow folks to work across state lines. So most of the dating coaches in the country should be available to you if that's a route that you'd like to take. Let me encourage you to just give that a Google and see what you find. But it may also be useful to be talking to a therapist and kind of considering some of the fears, some of the emotions that you're bringing to the table and making it less about how to be this like finely crafted, clever, charming, presentation, and more about how to better understand yourself and how to cut yourself some slack and accept yourself, because that's always going to be sexy.
Or you could just watch Hitch over and over again until you feel like you've got it down.
Yeah, that's what I did.
That's what I did. Yeah. I was gonna say the owner, the host of the Mystery Box show. Shout out to them. They're in Portland and fabulous. They tell sexual stories. It's also, they have a great YouTube channel. I may or may not be on it, but anyways, they was only on one thing, but the creator of it, he was a virgin until 30 something as well, and he's married to the other host, who's fabulous and awesome and great and love her. And he too like is when I call him awkward, again, like I call it nom awkward, like the awkward in me sees the awkward in you. And he's another person where he's like, actually, he looks pretty suave, truth be told, but like in person, not the suave, debonair person. Like someone is going to love you no matter what. And if you that's the only thing I have confidence in. Someone's going to love me. We just don't know where that person is. I mean, I do. She's downstairs now, but you can find that person. Just trust that there is an equally awkward person or awkward accepting person. My wife is not awkward. So who's going to think you're endearing. Just remember that.
I'll keep that in mind. And I'm definitely going to look up a dating coach. Probably not going to do therapist, though, because that costs money. Way money.
Yeah, well, good luck to whatever kind of professionals you're tracking down. Let us know if what you find out or what your experience is. Please feel free to reach out, shoot us an email. We're sex@atheist-community.org. And we'd love to get an update. Love to hear how it goes. It's a brave thing you're taking on. So I hope that you're supported.
Yeah, Keith, please, if you have a really amazing date after taking some of this advice, call back, please.
Honestly, I think that you need to text the I'm awkward thing tonight.
Do it.
Yes.
Now while you're gassed up, do it.
I'll consider it.
Well, thank you so much. I hope you have a great night tonight.
Mm-hmm. And Keith, in the words of Yoda, do or do not. There is no, I'll think about it. Okay.
All right.
Have a good night.
You as well.
Well, Amberly, you clearly give good advice. We didn't get to half of the things that I would have loved to have talked to you about. So I want to make sure to direct people towards your books, which are you mentioned on Amazon. Of course, you're at amberlyrothfield.com. Where else can people find you around the web?
I live and exist on Twitter, which I have open DMs if you ever want to message me at Amberly PSO, as in phone sex operator. I thought that was clever. It's not. I disagree with it. And then we have like a little silly new, I call it silly because I don't edit, news show called Bare Disclosure here on YouTube, where I talk about issues that relate to models in the industry, like site news or and stuff like that, stuff that models can condense down from all the crap we're thrown out on Avian. Anywho, sorry.
Well,
and I am technically on Instagram, but don't DM me there.
I definitely can't mention your website without telling people whether they are looking for a consultation or any of these kinds of things or not, they need to check it out just because of the random content generator that you have.
Oh, God.
I spent about a half an hour just shuffling through all of the random number generator, I guess, suggestions for adult content ideas. It's a good time. It's a good time, everybody. If you and your partner are having a little bit of trouble coming up with that role play scene, or if you're putting together a piece of content, it's definitely a website worth checking out. That's amberlyrothfield.com.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, that thing is hysterical sometimes.
Yeah.
And Rudy, where can folks find you around the web?
They can find me at XCultBaby on pretty much any social media platform. But if they're looking specifically for my sex work type stuff, the username they will probably find me under is RudyB123. And that is also my OnlyFans. That's my side Twitter account, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and anybody who missed last week's episode, I want to make sure to point out that if you are curious about sex work and some of these conversations we've been having, this is kind of the second part of a conversation we've been having with Rudy about getting into content creation and all of those kinds of things. So please take a look at that. Otherwise, I want to, of course, take a moment to thank our incredible crew, all of our call screeners, the sound engineers, the video engineers, our producer, everybody who is helping to put this together, taking care of the notes and the timestamps. Just a great group of folks helping us to bring this to y'all every week. So thank y'all for everything you do. And other than that, I think it's time to just encourage everybody out there maybe to pick up a phone, maybe to visit a website, to thank a sex worker, and then give themselves a big old orgasm. Or better yet,
give somebody else one.
Yeah.
What are we doing, man? What are we doing?
No.